recorder's on. Is everybody signed in? I would assume. Okay. I'd like to call to order the 501 meeting on November 18th, 2024, the Delray Beach Planning and Zoning Board. Ms. Miller, would you please call the roll?
Mitch Katz.
Here.
Chris Brown.
Here.
Dietrich Strawn.
Here.
Allison Thomas, absent. Jeffrey Meiselman.
Here.
Judy Malika.
Here.
Gregory Snyder.
Here. Thank you. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, we do. The first item, Old Palm Grove, will be postponed, not to a date certain. There were some issues with inconsistencies in the application request that the city and the applicant mutually agreed it would be best to postpone it. The item will not be reheard until those are resolved, and then at that time another mailer would go out to the public to let them know that the meeting will be held. But it is off the agenda tonight.
Okay, thank you. So item 8A is removed. So the only item we have left is 10A. Are there any other changes?
Do we have a motion?
Do we have a motion to approve?
Approved.
As amended, please.
As amended.
Yes. Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Brown, seconded by Mr. Katz. Could you call a roll, please, Ms. Miller?
Mitch Katz.
Yes.
Chris Brown.
Yes.
Dietrich Strawn.
Yes.
Allison Thomas, absent. Jeffrey Meiselman.
Yes.
Judy Malika. Gregory Snyder.
Yes. Okay. Now, we approve the minutes of July 15th meeting. Does anyone have any comments about the minutes? Could we have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Strong. Could you call the roll, please?
Mitch Katz.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Chris Brown.
Yes.
Dietrich Strawn.
Yes.
Allison Thomas, absent. Jeffrey Meiselman.
Yes.
Judy Malika. Gregory Snyder.
Yes. Okay. Selection of a board member to serve on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee.
Yes, I can give you a little bit of background. So the city has an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, which gives input on what would be going into the local housing assistance plan, which is what dictates how the state housing initiative partnership funds are spent. And so a member of the board by regulations is a member of the Planning and Zoning Board. So amongst yourselves, you all could decide who you would like to have sit on that committee.
Okay, thank you. First of all, do we have a volunteer? Judy Malika. Do we have any other volunteers?
Chris?
I so moved Julie Mulligan.
Yeah.
I just know in the past,
Go ahead.
worked in that field. Is that some, like, you have a lot of experience in that from when I appointed you to the other board? Sorry. I know when I appointed Jeff to another board because of his experience working with assisted living. That's why I'm curious if you have any desire.
No, actually not assisted living,
It was-
homeless veteran.
It was homeless veteran housing. Okay. I knew it was something like that. So
So nominate Judy.
that's fine.
Do we have a motion
Second.
and a second? Motion for Mr. Brown, second for Mr. Strawn. Could you call the roll again, please?
Mitch Katz.
Yes.
Chris Brown.
Yes.
Dietrich Strawn.
Yes.
Allison Thomas, absent. Jeffrey Meiselman.
Yes.
Judy Malika. Gregory Snyder.
Yes. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, at this point, we need to swear in anyone who wants to speak at the meeting tonight. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Please stand, or is going to speak. Please stand and be sworn in. You can be sworn in and then not speak.
Please raise your right hand by the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. At this point, we'd like to take comments from the public on any item that's not on the agenda. If there's anyone who wishes to speak on any subject not on the agenda, please come forward. Okay. Having none, that's closed. No presentations. Quasi-judicial hearing items have been removed, which brings us to legislative items. So, Mr. Sari, if you would
Yes, I'll go ahead
enter
and
the
pull
item.
this up. Okay, good evening. For the record, Rebecca Dossery, Development Services, and I'm entering into the record file number 2025-048. So this amendment is initiated by the City Commission, and we're asking for a recommendation on the ordinance that was provided in your packet. I neglected to put the background for this amendment on the slide, but there's a great program through the Delray Education Foundation that allows businesses to contribute to sponsor a wrap on a bus shelter, which you all are probably familiar with these. So the majority of the wrap is to call out a specific school, and it's the largest portion of the wrap is identifying a school. And then on the side, one of the side panels, as you can see here, there's sponsor language, and it says the thank you, and then the business information. So this is one that's off of Old School Square, and this is one by Delray Tennis Center. So the impetus for this amendment was that there was some concern that possibly the sponsor information was maybe having a more prominent place than they would like, given the spirit of the amendment was to, or the spirit of the program was to support schools. So the regulations that are brought before you limit essentially the size of the sponsor information to no more than 4 square feet. So like on this, for example, like you'll see the big logo, and it has the name of the business, and it's a little small for me, and a phone number. So whatever would be provided can only be 4 square feet. A circular logo, we square it off and measure that way. And then it could only have the logo without any phone number or any other such information. So that's the essence of the ordinance. We didn't have anything in our sign code previously that really addressed this well. This is in the section for exempt signs and temporary signage. We do have as our comp plan policies that we are to support education, and this program of the Education Foundation provides a significant amount of funding that helps local programming in the schools. And then, as always, we try to keep our LDRs updated regularly to accommodate changes that are happening. So these are your motions. I can answer any questions about the substance of the ordinance if you like, and that concludes my very brief presentation.
Thank you. Is anyone public?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing here that it's the logo and the name, but it feels like I was reading that it's the logo or the name.
You can.
Yes, it could be either. So you could do your logo, or if you just wanted to put Joe's Crab Shack, you could put that too.
But that, like the Forever Young had the logo and then the Forever Young. Both of those would still be allowed?
It would be
As long as
one or the other.
One or the other?
Like, say, if the logo had the name in it as part of the logo, then yes, but you wouldn't independently be able to do both.
Okay.
Can we get, do we have public comment?
We don't actually have public comment on legislative items.
We don't? Okay, well,
And
if
if-
anybody wanted to speak.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. We don't do the public comment, but if the board, in their pleasure, decided to open
I
it
don't
up
know
for
if-
public comment, you're more than welcome to do that.
If anybody has any, I'd like to hear it. No? In that case,
I can continue?
you can continue.
Okay. Well, I'm personally very much in favor of this program. I think it's fabulous that the school benefits from it. I don't find any obtrusive advertising when I'm driving by there, but I do feel like it's promoting our schools. So it's I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Mr. Strong.
I'm just asking, so right now, what's allowed is any sponsorship information that the sponsor wants to put on in the wrap, is that correct?
Correct, and there aren't any regulations on the books to help guide what people are proposing to put on it. So I think this was just an attempt to set a standard that would keep the focus on the school rather than a business
guess-
sponsor.
My concern is if you're not, so we're limiting the what the sponsors put on to just their name or logo.
Correct. So, like say on this one, this is a better image to look at, I think. So the part that is not regulated by this amendment is the part that's on the back in the image on the left. The proposed regulations would only regulate the size of the logo. The thank you would not be included in the measurement, so it would be just that logo. And I think we actually based the 4 square feet on that logo to say that it could accommodate something like that.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up for me. I'm good, thanks.
Mr. Brown?
I support fellow board member for supporting.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, Jeff.
I couldn't hear him at all, what he said.
Pardon?
I couldn't hear him at all, what
Can
he
we
said.
tip the microphone front a little
Speak
bit?
into a microphone, will you, please?
There you go.
I don't want to have
I support my fellow board members and in their conclusion of this program. Thank you.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
question mostly is this to the attorney. So in 2014, there's a lot of case law about signage. I know that because I was on the commission from 15 to 18. We had to change signage laws here in the city. And so currently in our city laws, we don't allow signage in public right of way. This was a pilot program. My question is, now that we're putting this into the code, how does this restrict any company whatsoever, no matter what they do for a business, from advertising on these bus shelters through this program? How can we restrict who that person is under the law that was passed, or under the Supreme Court case in 2014?
I don't have an answer for you right now on that. That's a great question. I don't know if you have anything to.
Not specifically, but this was crafted, the ordinance, by Attorney Jelen, and I know that she keeps on top of this. And the section that this is being included in would be under the exempt signage rather than anything that may be more germane to what you're speaking about.
Right. So what happened was somebody sued, said, if you allow a signage on a public billboard, a public building, whatever it might be, this is a public entity, you cannot restrict, it's my understanding, any business from advertising. So if, for example, Pornhub wanted to come and say, I want to put my advertising on there, what stops them from paying the $500 or whatever it is, and $2,500, whatever the amount is, and advertising on that bus shelter? And how will that hold up in court if we said no?
I'm sorry, what stops who from advertising on the bus shelter?
Any advertiser, any company. So say, for example, a porn company, a strip club, somewhere that we don't want on there. How do we stop them? Because that's why when I was on the commission that we couldn't allow like certain raps or advertising and things like people wanted to do because of that. This was done as a pilot program, but now it's not going to be a pilot anymore. So now you're opening up to anybody. So that's my question is, how does this ordinance protect citizens from having to see advertising from any company that we would not necessarily want to see advertising on a bus shelter in our city?
Does the school have a choice of who sponsors them?
They're not sponsored. It has nothing to do with the school. They're just handing a check to the school. So this is the money.
Yeah,
They're not writing a check to the school. They're writing a check to the
Chamber.
Chamber of Commerce.
but if you read this, it says sponsoring a school.
Right. But they're not. The school has no say in who sponsors them under this program.
Does anybody? They're writing it, does the Chamber of Commerce?
I mean, it's kind of a simple answer to a really complex question, but I would say, I mean, like the city manager or designee, like this has to be approved by the city manager of the city.
Right.
Prior
But
to
what Ken's saying is,
He's
what I'm
not.
saying is, I was on the dais when we had these same discussions, and we were told specifically by the city attorney at the time that when that Supreme Court case passed, that you cannot restrict anybody on a public entity. Once you open up that can of worms, you now allow anybody. So personally, I cannot support this because I cannot. First of all, I don't think they look good. To be honest with you, I think it's kind of gaudy, but it's our schools are funded through our tax dollars. There's no shortage of funding right now for our schools. There's shortage of managing that funding. We just passed a 0.5% sales tax that's going to continue to go to our schools. But there's other ways that we can raise money for our schools than opening up the city to potential civil rights lawsuits.
Can you speak to the exempt signs on paragraph H in this ordinance, 1 through 9? I don't, they're not in here. It just says the subsections shall remain in full force. Do you have the original ordinance that I could look at?
Well, so the ordinance that you have there would not have the full exempt sign section. It's quite long. So in drafting ordinances, we usually put the relevant part of it. So I'm
I'm
scrolling.
just wondering if those
Sure.
exempt signs would speak to Mr. Katz's concern.
I'm scrolling down to exempt signs here in our sign code. One moment, please. Okay, so the category of exempt signs are those that are allowed to be erected on private property in the city of Delray Beach pursuant to the limitations, and they don't require a permit like another sign would, let's say if it was on a business. So the other things that fall into this category would be ATM machine, the panels on those, directional signs, any flags, hours of operation signs, instructional signs, nameplates, or non-residential uses, real estate signs, and in residential, again, real estate signs are the only things that are exempted. Windows are also exempt from this, and then certain temporary signs, non-commercial signs on public rights-of-way, or sponsorship signs. So this would fall under the category of sponsorship signs.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Let me ask, is this any different than when you go out to Atlantic High School, right over here on Atlantic Avenue, and they have sponsorship banners outside on the gates, and even at Pompey Park we have it.
I believe it would fall under that same category. The other sponsorship signs would be ones that could go on a fence at a sports field.
So if this is in line with those sponsorship banners, I don't see how we would run afoul of any cases, because those banners have been up for years. I've had my banner out there on an Atlantic High School. So even though this is a pilot program now,
It was.
it was right, and we're making it more permanent now. We should be okay, because this is something that the city's been doing post the Supreme Court case.
Sure, and I know that I wish I had the answers for all of you regarding how this doesn't put the city at risk. I know that we have a very solid legal team that would not risk proposing something that would put the city in jeopardy, but we will absolutely bring these comments to them, and we could make sure that there's that's addressed in the presentation to commission.
Okay. Listen, that's my opinion. Just from going through it when I sat on here before, and as far as the schools, that's private property. That's not our property. Bus stops are on public property, on city property. The city does not own those fences. That's
Talking about, but I
that's
mentioned
owned by
Pompey
the.
Park as well.
What's that?
Pompey Park, we have sponsorship banners.
Right. So we do own that property.
Right. And so the point I was making
Right.
is, if we have those banners right now on public fields, there should not be a problem with us running afoul.
I agree. It should not be, but I just remember was having that discussion and being advised we could not do these things. So, and that's the can of worms.
Just one comment though. I mean, we are able to regulate content. There are certain safeguards, of course, because you can over-regulate, and I think, we always try to be within those boundaries. Like the emphasis is on, following the comprehensive plan, the educational component of these sponsorships. So again, like content, speech, regulation is allowed just within certain boundaries.
Right.
So, obviously, if you have those reservations, those are good, complex questions to bring up. But
Right. Right there's a bar advertised. So if you owned a different type of bar and you wanted to advertise there, how could you restrict that other bar from advertising? Right.
We do have regulations.
The
that,
example you're giving is it's closed now, but it was a bar, a nightclub, right?
It was our sign regulations do have regulations against obscenity and lewd depictions on signage. So
Right.
that is built into the code. So there's definitely that protection.
Okay.
Do you happen to know the dollar amount and how many signs there are throughout the city? Like, what are we talking?
So I think our education foundation folks are over here, but I believe it's $2,500 to sponsor a shelter, and there's maybe.
Can I answer?
Yeah, so maybe we can ask our education foundation representative to come to the podium, and they can answer that better.
You can hear me. I have a voice.
If you can go for the
Okay.
for the sake of the record, Dan will
My name is Kay Johnsons. I live at 1801 North Swinton Avenue. I am the secretary of the Delray Chamber Education Fund. I'm also the current president of the Delray Chamber of Commerce. This program has raised over $48,000 cumulatively since it began. It has gone back to the schools. Just this past year, we gave $30,000 back to the schools for this. Sponsorship, to address sponsorship, it's not by invitation only, but it is reviewed by the DCEF prior to going in, and also reviewed by the city as to what the logo would be. And also, we're very conscious of the image of this when we select things. So while I understand the Supreme Court limitations, we are not pursuing people or images that would not be, or people who would not be a manner that would be supporting our Delray schools and education values.
Okay, how many signs are up there? Was that your question?
Yeah, how many are there, do you know?
I think at this point there's 16 to 18. There's several that are expired. This has been on hold since last summer. It is a 1 year that you can do it with a renewal. So we have several that we're about to take down, but this has been on hold since since July. So I think that there are currently probably closer to 16 active, because we're about to take several down that did not renew, including this one here for the OG.
Thank you. Anything else, Jeff?
Just out of curiosity, what percentage of the money that you collect goes to the school?
So in the first year, for the 2,500, it's just, there is no percentage that goes back to the chamber or goes back to DCEF. There is the cost of the wrap, which is about $450. And then in the first year, we take about a $250 to $300 contingency for damage or any destruction for replacement of the wrap. That's only in the first year. In the second year, 100% goes back. So if you are a renewing sponsor, and we are lucky that quite a number of them have renewed, it's only unfortunate situations like the business that is no longer there or a business that has moved out of Delray. So in the second and in the third year, 100% goes back. We anticipate that the lifespan before we, as we're in now, about to enter our fourth year of these wraps, is 3 to 4 years. Probably for some of those, we're going to have to take a little bit out just to renew the wrap, because it gets weather beaten or faded or, peeled off a little bit or whatever over the years. They have about a 3 to 4 year lifespan.
Anything else? I just want to say to Mr. Cass, I think the worst outcome that could come based on this Supreme Court and the whole thing is that if somebody that was totally unacceptable was suing to put that on there, we shut the program down.
Yeah, you'd have to.
And that would solve that. And so I don't think it's an extreme risk, is my point. And I support this. I do have a question. What I'm looking at is exactly what we're talking about. My question is about the 4 square feet thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what it looks like? Or is it smaller or what? That just seems small to me. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so that is 4 square feet. We measured it. We went out with the tape measure and
Okay.
checked to see what size. So the size that you see on this is 4 square feet.
So that's 4 square feet and the thank you's extra.
an extra.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. That's all I have. Do we have a motion to,
I would recommend approval to the City Commission of Ordinance Number 36-24, a city-initiated amendment to Section 4.6.7, Signs of the Land Development Regulation, to adopt regulations for bus shelter sponsorship signage, finding that the amendment and approval thereof is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
thank you. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Ms. Malika, second by Mr. Brown. Ms. Miller, would you please call the roll?
Mitch Katz,
No.
Chris Brown,
Yes.
Dietrich Strong,
Yes.
Allison Thomas absent, Jeffrey Meiselman,
Yes.
Judy Malika,
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes. Okay, motion passed. 5-1, I believe. Okay. That takes, I'm looking at the wrong agenda here. Ah, fuck. Where are we? Reports and comments. Okay, staff, thank you.
Nothing from us, just your upcoming board meeting dates are December 16th and January 27th, 2025. We're already at that part of the year. If you will be absent, just let us know. I think we have a full agenda in December to compensate for this short one.
Say that again?
I believe we have a pretty full agenda in December, so if you won't be able to attend, if you can just let us know ahead of time,
Okay.
we'd appreciate it.
To compensate for the short one, I heard that part.
Yeah.
And
That
then
was a
January
joke, but-
21st, right?
Pardon?
January 21st, is that what you said?
January 27th.
27th, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Strong? Any comments?
No.
Mr. Brown?
No.
No.
Katz? Ms.
No.
Maslin? No, nor do I. Board Attorney? In which case, meeting adjourned.
Right.
You could have made a campaign promise.